Thanks, Kevin. It's obviously great to be down in Charlotte for this championship game, and it's an honor for our team to come down here and represent the Coastal Division. Again, couldn't be more excited. We had a great week of practice. We got a great Wake Forest team, and Coach Clausen does a great job coaching them. Tremendous football coach, tremendous person. I have a ton of respect for him, and can't wait to tee it up at 8:14. Questions?
All right, as always, if everybody could use the raise your hand function, and then we'll call on you. You can unmute your line at that point. Our first question is from Alvaro Torres. Alvaro, go ahead.
Hi, Coach Narduzzi. I hope you're having a great day. Well, Kenny Pickett has been named the ACC Player of the Year. What can you tell us about his development as a player throughout the season? And were you expecting him to come out with this award leading up to this season?
You're not thinking about awards. Did I think we'd be sitting in Charlotte having Kenny Pickett number 8, QB1, running our offense? Yeah, but you're not sitting here thinking, is he going to be a Heisman candidate? Is he going to be the player of the year? I kind of forgot that they even had a player of the year until you get to your ballot and you vote, and you can't vote for your own guys, of course. You kind of go down through the list of what you have to vote for. So that's nothing we look at. But, Kenny's development through the season, I think it's, well mentioned here through the year. I mean, he started off the same way he's been finishing, at least the regular season. We need him, to have one of his best games tomorrow versus, an explosive Wake Forest offense. So, could be a barn burner, and we got to score just one more point than they do. But Kenny's a tremendous football player. I think his pocket presence, his ability to throw the ball down the field compared to some of the other guys out there in the country, speaks for itself.
Okay, our next question is from Chris Heidel. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, Coach Narduzzi, congratulations on winning the championship in the Coastal Division.
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it.
Talk about you guys been there before a couple of years ago with the rain and all that stuff down there. Do you feel like you know a little more? What did you learn from that game that helped you this week prepared for this week's game?
I went back and looked at some of my notes and what we did, and I won't share any secrets. But to me, you can talk to your kids about it. And, but they have their own feelings about it. Okay. I think, back when we clinched it, we actually beat Wake Forest, at Wake Forest to clinch it, and didn't finish up the season the way we wanted it to. But when we did clinch, I think our kids were excited to be there. And it's just been, and I told them, hey, listen, we don't want to be there. We don't want to be that team that's just excited to be in Charlotte. We want to be excited after the game. And, I've experienced that. We went Michigan State when I was a defense coordinator. Then we played Wisconsin with Russell Wilson. Some of the locals have heard this. And when we got beat by him, last second of the game, actually roughed the punter. And, Keyshawn Martin took it all the way back that we were going to win the game, but we lost it. But the next time we went back, we beat Urban Meyer, the number 1 team in the country. So just kind of, going, I think, is a big advantage in knowing what you're in for. Someone can talk to you about it, but until you've done that, been there, I think that's an advantage.
If I can follow up real quick, talk about our good friend from Frederick, Maryland, your Jordan Edelson, your good wide receiver. Just talk about his development, because it seems like when I talked to him in the summertime, he was very shy. He seems like he's more outgoing now.
He's still shy, Chris. He's still shy, but he's developed. His mother talks about it all the time, how, she talks a lot to him. But he's quiet. He's humble. That's what I love about him. He just plays football. He's not a guy like, hey, coach, I'm not getting enough catches. I mean, he doesn't care about that. He wants to win. He wants to play receiver. And maybe another thing, you talk about Blitnikoff that hasn't got out there enough, is the guy blocks. He's not one of these prima donna wideouts out there that doesn't block anybody. There was a play, I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, where he took and knocked 2 guys down on a block. It was like, wow, and this guy's not thinking he's too good. So he's a complete player. He's developed, in his 2 years at Pitt.
All right, our next question is from Dalton Coppola. Go ahead, Dalton.
Hi, Pat. Thanks for taking the time. I noticed you obviously took note of the students waiting outside the William Pitt Union for student tickets to head down to Charlotte, and you brought the pizza. What can you say to that sort of atmosphere around the student body surrounding this game?
I think there's a lot of excitement in Pittsburgh generally. Not only on campus, but everywhere. I get a lot of text messages from people. So, can't say enough about I saw him out there. I'd heard about it. Actually, I think one of our assistants, said, look, if there's, people outside, I was like, hey, let's go. I wanted to be there and let them know how important they are.
And our next question is from Jenna Harner. Jenna, go ahead.
Pat, you just described the excitement around Pittsburgh. How do you describe the excitement, the emotion among you guys in your locker room right now? We kind of have talked to some of the guys throughout the week, and they're saying they're a little bit even keel, but how would you kind of describe the emotions right now for you guys?
Yeah, I hope they're, Jen, I hope they're even keel, because that's kind of how I am. I feel like it's just any other Friday. We got here a little bit early. That's about the only difference in the trip here. So I hope they're even keel. I don't, the excitement is, hopefully after the game. But, going to leading into the game, it's just about, focusing on your job, doing your job one play at a time, and winning your one-on-ones, on offense and defense and special teams.
And our next question is from Chris Pete. Go ahead, Chris.
Sort of along those lines a little bit. I know you guys just played a primetime game last week, but what will you do with the team tomorrow? Like, what's your approach? You got a long time until 8 o'clock. You said 8:14 or 8:15, and that's a lot of hours to sit around and stare at the walls. What will you do with the players, and what do you kind of have planned?
We're going to stare at the walls, stare at the players for a while, Chris. Good to see your face. We've got a plan, which we do any night game. We'll go to a movie this evening just to kind of get them relaxed. That's our deal. And then tomorrow morning, they got a 9:30 wake up. We'll have a special teams call out. We'll have, a 30-minute special teams meeting, a 45-minute offense defense meeting. And then, they'll have lunch, and then we also have what we call activation and mobility. So we'll get them moving with our strength coaches, which is outstanding, just to kind of get them active. And then we're going to try to go get them, power nap or a long nap. So we've got it down to where, they're taking either a 20-minute or less nap or a 90-minute or more. So they got a big 3.5-hour window just to kind of go back to the rooms and relax. So they'll probably be on their phones, hopefully, getting their nap in, which I think they do. But again, it goes all the way down to measuring what kind of nap and how long is it.
And our next question is from Alvaro Torres. Alvaro, go ahead.
You're muted.
Alvaro,
Oh,
yeah.
sorry, I was muted. Eddie Berry has been one of the most dominant receivers in the FBS this season. What would you say are the main challenges he poses? And is it possible to take a player like him off the game?
I'm sorry, can you mention that again? You kind of broke up a little bit. You're talking about Jordan Addison, I'm assuming?
I was talking about A.T. Perry. He has been one of the most dominant receivers in the FBS this season.
Right.
What would you say?
A.T. Is a great football player. I mean, he's 6'5". He's long arms. Does a good job at getting some push off on you. In the route, we got to do a good job at making sure he doesn't push off on us. When he pushes off, we'll probably get called for holding, but hopefully not, because as soon as that happens, that first instinct is to grab on, because he's a big, long, levered guy. So we got to be careful, but we got to be physical at the line of scrimmage, which is our plan, like normal. And he's a tremendous football player. He's definitely a guy you got to stop.
Our next question is from Amanda Filipsic-Gotzi. Go ahead, Amanda.
Hi, Pat. I was wondering, you mentioned you want the team to be even keeled. How important has it been? You have some older players, the super seniors, obviously Kenny, Phil Campbell, guys like that have been in the ACC Championship before. How important has it been to have their leadership with the younger guys like Jordan and Izzy and those guys?
Yeah, it's certainly important, Amanda. Having guys that have been there already there, they can tell their stories and tell you what happened. And I think that's really important. Had it been, we went in 2018, then we don't go again until 2025. It's a wash. I'd have to bring somebody back from that era, or maybe bring the entire team back and tell them what happened and what not to do. So they would listen. Sometimes they don't listen to us old people.
And our next question is from Jerry DePaula. Go ahead, Jerry.
Pat, you guys have known you're planning this game for almost 2 weeks now. Describe the eagerness amongst your guys in the locker room to finally get this thing kicked off, and maybe they would be anxious to even be okay with playing tonight.
Yeah, I think they probably would be anxious to playing tonight. I think the thing that helped us, Jerry, is we didn't know who it was going to be. Okay, until we were about teeing it up against Syracuse last week up in New York. So I think that helped because there was no opponent. It's like we're in it, but we ain't playing anybody yet. So I think that's helped. But our guys are certainly eager to play, game number 13 and try to get number 11. be 1-0 this week.
Our next question is from Chris Peak. Go ahead, Chris.
You mentioned that if you had gone between 2018 and 2025, you'd bring the whole team back to talk. Do you have anything? What do you have planned for tomorrow night? Do you have anybody special coming in to talk to the team for the game?
Tomorrow night? No, tonight we do. I'm not going to release it right now. I guess we usually I don't want to release it yet, but usually it's a pregame meal. We'll introduce them tonight and then release a little video tonight, as you know, Chris, and then they'll talk to the team, I guess, tomorrow pregame meal.
Okay, just a reminder to use the raise your hand function. You have a question. Do we have any other questions? Jerry,
I'll ask a silly one, Pat. Do you plan your pregame speeches, or are you just off the cuff, whatever comes to your mind?
I think there's a plan.
Kickoff I'm talking about.
Yeah, I think there's a plan for everything. What am I saying here? What am I saying there? And just like I tell our captains, hey, don't go into a team meeting, because they meet with them tonight before we go to bed, before snack. The captain's got them. I think you've got to always have a plan. You can't be a teacher and get to class and kind of go look at them like, okay, turn to chapter 19 and read. I think you always have to have a plan of what's important tonight, what's important tomorrow, what's important right before the game.
And we'll go to Jenna Harner. Go ahead, Jenna.
Pat, you kind of also talked about, the fans and just the support that the Pitt community has shown. Do you have anything special? Do you guys have anything special planned for the fans that are coming down to Charlotte in droves?
I don't, but I guess what we have planned is to play the best football game of the year. That's, to me, the best gift we could give them, and again, share that moment with them after the game in that stadium.
Our next question is from Chris Peak. Go ahead, Chris.
You mentioned the captains talk to the players, Pat. Is that mostly Kenny kind of getting guys fired up, or who sort of leads that on a weekly basis?
You know what? I don't tell them. That's on them. But I think they each say something, or they say, hey, I think they have a plan, and I don't dig into their plan. That's none of my business. But I think they have a plan. I've never asked hey, who's in there talking, who's doing the most. I have an idea who talks the most. But that's their deal, and we coaches walk out, so we don't sit in or listen to it. It's on them. But I think it's important to let those guys have that opportunity to talk to the team and tell them tell them what's on their mind.
I also wanted to ask you, just not as a follow up to that directly, but I was curious your thoughts, because this time of year there's always conversations about conference versus conference, which conferences are better than others, and I was curious your opinion. What do you think is the best way to measure conferences? Is it bowl records, non-conference records, rankings? How do you compare conferences? And I guess how would you make a case for the ACC?
That's it's a great question. I'm not going to bash any other, Power 5 conferences, because they're all good. But it starts off with quarterbacks. Okay. I think it starts off, who are the top quarterbacks in the country? Where are they playing, and what conference, and how many you have? And I said this since I first got here, the quarterbacks in the ACC compared to what we said, saw in the Big Ten, football has not changed that much. It's just a different deal. And again, I can compare Big Ten and ACC compared to some others, compared to the SEC or the Big 12 or whatever it may be. I got more knowledge there, but I think it comes down to who they play and who are they beating and how are they beating them too. So it's a hard thing to figure out. That's for sure.
Okay. Do we have any other questions? All right. Seeing no other questions, we'll conclude the press conference. Thank you, Coach Narduzzi. Good luck tomorrow.
Thanks. We'll see you post game.